everybody, it's the Alex Manasseh here to think out loud, just the way you like it. All right, today I'm going to talk about homeschool and why I think that homeschool actually does a better job of getting you ready for the engineering profession than even college does, right? So, what are you doing when you're at homeschool, right? You're usually by yourself. Now, I'm going to restrict this conversation to exclude any like weird, crazy religious homeschool reasons. These are just, I'm going to restrict it just to people who are earnestly trying to give their kid a better education and maybe don't have the money for private school, or they think that homeschool is just a better fit, right? So purely scholastic reasons. What you're going to see is that the homeschoolers are at home, usually by themselves, usually studying. They might have a parent who is helping them out. Sometimes it's full-time, but I really feel like most parents try and wean their kid off really early, right? If you were a parent, would you want to be there for 6 hours a day, like stepping them through like they're a knucklehead, you know, how to do math? Or would you go there for like a minute, show them how to do it, take a minute to go do the dishes or something, see how it goes? If it doesn't work out, then come back and help them if they have a question. But most of the time, you're incentivized now as a parent to let them work on their own, get stuff going, so they're not bugging you, right? Now, a teacher has no such incentive, by the way. They're stuck with you regardless. Now, they might want to just have their day be less chaotic, but I don't. Like they might really just love teaching, and I think all of them do. I think every teacher that goes into the business, on the best days, they're enjoying it. I would hope so. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that every teacher on the best days really likes their job. Benefit of the doubt. I know, pipe dreams. So you get the kid who's now working by themselves most of the time. Well, guess what you're doing as an engineer? Well, when you're an engineer, you are the sole person in the company, especially if you're a senior engineer. You are the sole person in that company that knows how to do what you do. If there was somebody else that knew how to do it, your job would be in danger because you're expensive. Why? You don't need two of them. You don't need two screwdrivers. You already have one. You don't need, another car jack or something, right? You already have one. You have as many as you need at least, right? So you have to be special. You have to be a special type. Like, oh, this is a special kind of screwdriver that is special for certain jobs, right? So everyone's looking to you for answers, right? You have to be independent. You also have to be independently competent, because when a homeschooler is sent to go do a test or has to do it, they are solely responsible for learning the instruction, doing the work, and asking the questions. They don't get to... Letting other people ask questions for you is a form of sponging, kind of, to me. It's a form of... that, and that's one of the reasons why you do have a classroom, is so you guys can all have the same questions. And that way you don't have to... You get a little bit of the flock efficiency. Like, if a bird is flying in a flock, it's actually more efficient than flying on their own. They use a lot less energy doing it. Same thing with the classroom. But the reason why you're in a classroom is to expend energy to build proficiency, right? So if that student is responsible for also asking the questions and doing all the inquisition, they are now the sole responsible learner in the class of one, right? So that responsibility gets transferred to them when they're adult, right? They're going to take that with them. They're going to be used to being the only one who asks the question, They're going to be used to thinking on their own because they have to. There's no one to cheat off of. There's no one to ask what they thought of the book. Who are you going to ask about the Wuthering Heights? What did you think about Wuthering Heights? Well, I thought the themes were really interesting. Oh, wow, themes. You can't do that if you're a homeschool kid. Also, your parent might be able to... Your parent knows you really well. A teacher might only know you for a few months, right? They know you for about 3 hours a week for like 12 weeks or so. I forget how long a semester is, but your parent is with you for most of the day. They know all your BS, all right? They know all of your BS, and they're able to hold you accountable like teachers never could. They know when you really need a bathroom break or not, right? They know when you really did your homework or not, right? They know when you're actually having issues or you're just being totally lazy, okay? So, being a homeschool student, assuming that it's for scholastic reason, and that means the parent is actually holding you to a standard and trying to get you to do well, that is really good. That's the best, actually. I can't think of a better education. It's almost like having a private tutor. Something that's growing up with you. Imagine having the same private tutor for 15 years of your education. Well, not 15 years, like 12 years. I'm sorry, I was thinking about the age, right? But they are with you, though, for a long time. A long time, from birth till 18, off to college, right? Now that people say, Alex, what about the socialization aspect of homeschool? Why aren't they getting socialized? To which I say, yes, you could say that homeschoolers aren't socialized enough. You could also say that for public schoolers, right? Are public schoolers really socialized? When you talk to a high school kid, do you really think they can get along well with adults? When you're talking with an average high school kid, and you know what? Not even average. Let's take the bottom 20th percentile high school kid. Is that somebody who you can work with at your job? Are they going to be the ones ringing you up at Chick-fil-A? Probably not. Probably not. Who are the ones that are ringing you up at Chick-fil-A, being real friendly, wearing that red hat? Who are the ones that you want to work with? Well, with very few exceptions, those are the kids who had good parents. So is it the school making the difference? Or is it the parents making a difference, right? Are the parents the ones really rubbing off on the best and brightest, right? We have this huge survivor bias for schooling. And I'm going to tell you what that means. Survivor bias is that we only look at the great successes, the valedictorians and these people and that people. And we say, oh, that's what it takes to make it, right? We don't see the person who did the exact same thing and didn't make it, except their parents were scumbags, right? We didn't see that. When we have these parents who are actually the ones responsible for their students' success and not the school, you have to ask yourself, is the school really doing the job? Let's dive in deeper. Let's get into causal relationships. When you're at school, ask yourself, how are you being categorized? How are you being discriminated, right? Well, there's multiple levels, usually, within a grade. If you're in high school, there's like lower level, average, advanced, and then there's, at least at my high school, then there's honors, and then there's AP. Honors and AP kind of intermingle, right? Okay, so you got a bit of that stratification. You also have grade, right? Your age. What did you think of when you were in school, what did you think of the students who were like a year or two younger than you? Or 3 years? Or 4 years? They're a bunch of idiots, right? They're a bunch of idiots. Do you think you would put up with them being idiots around you all the time? Do you think you'd say something? Do you think that those young students would not take whatever you say extremely seriously and actually change the way they behave because they're kids and they're malleable like that? Well, that's how a normal society works when we allow ages to intermingle. The 15-year-old looks at the 12-year-old. The 15-year-old says, you need to stop with this furry stuff or something like that. The 12-year-old's like, oh, I guess I should stop then. The 15-year-old's like, hey, you want to go have some pizza or something like that? And the 12-year-old's like, oh, yes, please. I would love nothing more than having pizza with an older kid. That's kind of how it goes. And then you get people to normalize. You get people to mingle. You know, you see that like the smart kid who is the freshman in high school. You get to see that like the smart kid who's studying hard actually just gets along really well with the seniors who are in honors, and he gets to hang out with seniors, and now he's the coolest kid in the freshman class because like, oh wow, he gets to drive in a car after school off to go get milkshakes while I'm waiting for my mom to pick me up because he's got cool friends. The intermingling of age ranges is really important for socialization. Guess what you get at homeschool? You're intermingling with, get it even better, adults. Tutors. Now, I could definitely see like a high school AP or honor student being a tutor and then working with the kid to get them, you know, up to snuff with the SATs, ACTs, or the CLT, right? I could see adult tutors working with the child from a young age. The thing about adult tutors, too, is they're different from teachers. Because the adult tutor is there in the house with the parent. So when you go to school, you're kind of the customer, right? You're the one that the teacher is actually serving. That's not actually how the real world works. Usually it's the other way around. Where if I'm a young engineer and I'm learning from an older engineer, I'm serving them. You know? Now, if you're a student in public school, you are being kind of coddled constantly by the school system. They just want to pass you. They want to make their numbers. They don't want to get any complaints, right? Those are all things that get provided to the student. Those are all ways that make it easier for the student. In the real world, those are all ways in which the student would be forced to rise up to the occasion. Student, your numbers aren't good enough, right? You're not passing. We're getting complaints about you. That's how it's supposed to work. Guess how it works when you have an adult tutor in the house? The parent is now the customer because the parent has visibility. All of a sudden, you messing around and not paying attention, and the tutor says, hey, shape up. The parent says, yeah, you shape up, child. I'm paying for this lesson. It's not cheap. Who's getting a better preparation for engineering right now? You're socialized in public school. You're socialized by your peers, which is kind of like learning how to getting an etiquette lesson at a prison, right? School's not different than a prison. You're all confined. You're all segregated. You're all forced to do labor, lots of it. Your punishments can be given out, right? So you're kind of socially educated by your peers. You are not held accountable to your performance to a certain degree. You can get a bad grade, right? Or even if you complain enough, you can get that grade bumped up just so the teacher doesn't have to deal with you. And you're not accountable to yourself. You're a part of a collective. You've been collectivized. That's not how the real world works. Engineers have to think for themselves all the time. I disagree with other engineers all the time. It is a normal thing. I have to form my own opinion on everything. Because if engineers don't form their own opinions, bad things happen. You have Columbia. You have Challenger. You have Tacoma Narrows. Right? You get all sorts of disasters if you engineers do not think for themselves and double check. So you better be accountable, and you'd better be able to stand up to the task and answer the questions. Okay? And you better be able to answer to authority. Do you really think that the average high school kid, knows how to answer to authority? Right? Look around you at these riots. These 2020 riots are just a bunch of idiot kids. They're all like college age, and some of them like into their late 20s or even older, who have zero ability to answer to authority of any kind. Not even like the authority of reason. Like even reason it eludes them, or they're eluding it. So, if you're thinking about homeschool, think about the advantage that you get over all of your peers. And think about how much better you'll be as an engineer. Whenever a student asks me, hey, I would like to be an engineer, what can I do to prepare? I say drop out of school. Honestly, drop out of school. Because if you can make it on your own, that is the best practice, preparation, and test of whether or not you can be an engineer. Because as an engineer, you are on your own a lot. You have to be accountable. You have to just put your head to the grindstone and get it done. And no one else to blame. You also need to be self-guided. You need to go and do the research. What is it going to take to get into college? ACT, SAT, CLT, different AP classes if you can muster them, right? Different writings, how to write an essay, that sort of thing. How to do an interview, right? So that's all I've got for now. This has been the Alex Manassa. Make sure to like the smash button down below. Subscribe if you'd like to hear more of my voice and more about being an engineer. And feel free to follow me on Twitter. All my socials are down below. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.